Guest today. Her name is Cindy Bentley, and she and I met when I lived in Santa Fe. My dear friend, Dr. Carrie Lynn Chu, um, gifted me a session with her. And so that's how we met. And today I would like to introduce her to you and introduce her work to you. And I'll be asking her some questions about her childhood and her adulthood and how the work that she does found her and what the work is exactly and how people have benefited from it and how you can benefit from it. So
Yeah,
without further ado, this is Miss Cindy Bentley, and thank you for being here today.
I'm very excited to be here. Over the years past, I've done lots of um, internet radio without vision, with just talk and people calling in. And I had my own show out of Liverpool, England for a year, but it was a lot of work for me to do the show. And I was telling you, along with a weekly show, along with taking care of the many clients that I've had over the years. Um, yes.
Oh, well, I wanted to ask you a question. So, um, many of us, we come in so fresh and so pure from the other side of the veil,
Yes.
often with gifts.
Yes.
And
And
um,
it's painful.
it's changing now because more parents have more resources. Like if they don't know what to do, they know who to turn to. Like
Yes.
for instance, Mary Rodwell works with a lot of children. That's very helpful for people. So there are people out there that can help parents to work with their gifted children. But what happens if those parents don't have resources is that sometimes the parents might say or do things, even if it's not malicious, but they're just confused or they don't know what to do or say, and they might say the wrong things, and then the child's gifts get kind of turned off, sometimes permanently, and sometimes those gifts reawaken later in life. Um, were you born? Were you
I'm
born?
going to interject. Yes, I was going to interject. So I was born in 51, and according to Dolores Cannon, the late 40s, early 50s were when the first wave of light workers came in. There were other light workers here, but when the atomic bomb was released at the end of World War II, the powers that be in the universe asked for volunteers to come in and hold light on this planet. And we first wavers came in to help bring in the new earth. Um, Talking about children, I came in uh, being visited, hearing voices, which I still hear today, and a mother who said to me that I could not go to school and continue to talk to invisible people. They wouldn't let me in the school. So I started turning things off at an early age in order to fit in order to be part of the masses, and I was highly sensitive. I can remember going places with family members, and it was a large extended family with my mother with 8 brothers and all these cousins. And anytime we had a group, I would have to go somewhere and just cry. And I didn't know what that meant till I was much older, and I understood that I was uh, an an empath, and I was picking up other people's agenda into my frequencies and feeling it. Well, it's a gift if you know how to use it. And it's just terrible if you're not aware of it. And children come in. I know uh, starting in 2012, the children that come in after that are fully activated. They are no karma. They are ready to, they're there. They are the new earth, and they're ready to work and do the job that they came here to do. I've got 3 grandchildren, and it's just like, whoa, they're brilliant. But you're absolutely right, Julie. The parents now are more aware when they have gifted children, and when the children um, are able to speak to them almost like an adult when they're 3 years old. And um, the sad part is not everyone has that awareness,
Yeah.
nor do they want their children to be under any type of special care. So they get labeled and they say they're autistic or all kinds of different labels they put
Or
on them.
ADHD.
ADHD, yeah, I got that one. ADHD. And uh, so I think it's a wonderful time to be here, and it's very wonderful to see the children that I raised now have children that I raised my children differently, totally differently from the way my mother raised me. And I do this, and now my grandchildren are being raised in a higher frequency and more with more intelligence and more guidance, thank God.
Um, when you So you say, you had beings coming to you and
Right.
also talking to you. Did any of those beings let you know, we're talking childhood here.
Sure.
Did any of those beings let you know, like, did they tell you who they were? Did they use any names?
Well, I would say that I've always had Archangel Michael with me from the get-go. And he is the leader of the light workers. Um, he's a giant part of my life still because I couldn't do the work without his help.
Mhm.
But I do call in Archangel Michael, I call in Jesus, I call in uh, Archangel Michael with the warriors and the blue flaming sword. Then we have Saint Germain with the violet flame, Jesus with the Christ consciousness, the golden creator substance I use to seal anything that's open that needs to be sealed away as negative portals. When I clear someone who has been compromised by other negative energies or sources, I block them from ever coming back with golden creator substance,
Mhm.
which is the highest level of
Mhm.
power.
Let's dip into that a little bit more when we get into your work. I still want to ask a few questions about
Okay.
your childhood and
Okay.
your adulthood.
But
So,
the voices, yes, the voices, it was more like they were my friends. I was alone, a lot alone.
were you an only child?
I was the oldest of 6 children.
Mm.
Um, the 6th wasn't into the family till after I had gone to college,
Mhm.
but it was pretty intense childhood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, and did you grow up in a religious family?
Strongly religious Southern Baptist. My mother was the organist. And because I was away, I got in a lot of trouble. I can remember being 11 or 12 years old and speaking to the little Baptist minister, telling him that he didn't know what he was saying, that I had a God that loved everybody. And not I won't say the religion, but I think I already did, Southern Baptist. And he was up there saying you're going to go to hell, and the Catholics, nobody's going to heaven but the Baptists. And you were such a horrible sinner, and you were born in sin. And all of that was a lie. It
Mhm.
was just a pure lie for control of us.
Mhm.
And if you ever become aware of what control is putting you in a place of fear so that you could be relying on someone to save you. Like,
Mhm.
so they told us we had to be saved. We don't have to be we're saved now from some of the dark forces that come in here, the evil, but not from ourselves. We're perfection. God didn't make, and that's part of what I talk about with my clients. God didn't make a problem. He made a genuine, beautiful light being that came in to be in an avatar of a human form. And that human form has all the powers of God inside it because God accepts, God expects us to be his arms, his eyes, his hands. We, we are looking for someone else to come in and save us when we are supposed to be the ones taking the responsibility to save ourselves.
Mhm.
And the reason why we're given that is so that we can learn how powerful we truly are.
Mhm.
And once we recognize that we are creators, that we create not only the good, we also create the bad in our lives. I had I had shoulder surgery last month. No, in May I had some shoulder surgery, and I'm in a lot of pain. And a lady calls me and says, "Now I wonder what you did to cause that." And I was like, "Oh no, that's not what I wanted to hear." Or she would say, "Well, I wonder what that's all about with you. Why this is happening to you because you're causing it." Well, I'm causing it, but I don't look at things sometimes the way never, very seldom the way other people look at it. I'm looking at it as what is the good in this that I'm supposed to receive? And
Mhm.
a lot of people look at obstacles in their life and it's like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? This is so terrible." And the more you focus on how terrible something is, the more terrible it's gonna be because you are a creator. And the law of the universe is what you focus on, that is what you create.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if we could accept that law and integrate it into our lives, it's not an easy law. It takes work to be the observer of your thoughts. The Buddhists had it all right when they said, be the observer. Not only do you observe, you look at yourself without reacting. And if you think you're going to react, immediately you say, I have to think about this. Or you have to train yourself to go straight into, let's look at this. How is this helping me? No
Mhm.
matter how bad something is,
Mhm.
if the worst thing that can happen,
Mhm.
you go back and say,
How is this here to help?
how is this here to help me? What is it I am supposed to recognize in myself that I need to release, change, or heal?
Mhm. Yeah,
And when we do that, we're taking the power back to ourselves and we're not giving that power to something else or somebody else.
that's true.
The main gist of every work that I do with everybody is to work with people to have them go back into their power because they were always powerful beings. They just came down here and to come down here to this planet, they had to lower their frequency to be in a three-dimensional world.
Yeah,
Thankfully, we're getting out of that three-dimensional world and the duality of 3D
yeah.
and going into the new earth. We're on our way. Very close. Very close. Do you agree, Julie?
I do. That's why my platform is called Creators of New Earth, because I'm a creator of New Earth, and everybody I bring on here is a creator of New
Yes.
Earth. And
Yes.
we all are if we want to
Yes.
play that way.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I am going to put a little ticker tape across the bottom. So if
Sure.
anybody here would like to connect to Cindy Bentley and her work, you've got the website right there.
Mhm.
And also there's a link in the description box as well. So if you feel like you want to contact her, you would just go to her website. Her email address is right there. And that's the way that you would book an appointment with her.
Sure.
So we still haven't gotten to your work yet, but I want to ask a little bit like, what was your young adulthood like? And then when did this work find you?
So when you're born with things and you are like I said, I spent a lot of time alone. And I have been an avid reader. I was highly very smart in school. Um, and I read a lot of books. And toward my high school years, and I had to go to church 3 days a week. So spirituality was a big thing in my life, but not the spirituality that I practice now. It was a religion that was all constriction and telling you how you're zero, and that you have to ask for forgiveness for who you are, whatever you do, that we're so bad. But what I recognized is that there were people who taught a different lesson. So when I recognized there were other religions and spiritual work that was being done when I was in high school, I started reading Jean Dixon, Ruth Montgomery, um, who else? Jean Dixon, Edgar Casey. I joined the Edgar Casey group at a young age. Of course, everything I did, I had to do in secret because I had a strict Baptist where, my mother was like, you can't wear shorts. She was always talking about the body and covering it up, that men were going to see you. I mean, I'm like 10 years old, not even knowing what she was talking about.
Back to the people you read, did you read any Rudolf Steiner or Helena Blavatsky?
No,
Did you get into theosophy at all?
no.
No.
But the Theosophical Society was there, and I inadvertently got into some of that, not knowing exactly what that represented.
Mm-hmm.
But
Then how old were you when this work came to you?
So what happened is I was in survival mode basically when I lived at home.
You
I
were
left
in what? Sorry?
survival mode.
You were in survival.
Yeah, it was intense. So eventually I got scholarships and I went to nursing school when I was 17, and I finished nursing school and I was a registered nurse at 20 years old. And at 20 years old, I was at a Georgia Baptist nursing school in Atlanta, Georgia. And as soon as I graduated, they trained me before graduation to take over a high-risk pediatric unit, not tonsillectomies or anything like that. It was car wrecks, it was burns, and kids. There were no car seats, okay? So kids were if there was a wreck, kids were just thrown everywhere.
So long story short, you were working with kids.
Working with children that had been with all kinds of problems and lots of dying children. Medications that I had to give them, they didn't have in the 70s. I had to divide up adult dosage and use arithmetic to find out how much to give a child. Mm-hmm. It was very intense. We had no respirators for children. And eventually I can remember having the first respirator for a baby that was having open heart surgery, because we had open heart surgeons there, and that was a big deal. But what that taught me working there, and I couldn't do it but a few years because I was so empathic, I was getting severely depressed with it. I had to leave. And from there, I went to nurse practitioner school, and I was a pediatric nurse practitioner. But through the death, I recognized that there must be more to life. There had to be more. And the Edgar Casey readings were amazing. And I learned very early on about reincarnation and pieces of the Bible that were very important to our daily life, that were kind of not emphasized in the religion that I had been brought up in. But I think what happened was I ended up, I didn't marry till I was about 33, but I can remember when the kids were 3 and 5, and I was in a meditation group, and I had Archangel Michael come to me again, and he told me, he said, it's time for you to do the work. And I didn't know what the work was exactly that I was supposed to do. And I said, well, I can't do anything right now because I'm committed to my children. And that's my commitment now. And as soon as I got my last one in college, the next day, y'all, Archangel Michael was in my meditation and in the flow of my thoughts, constantly saying, it's time to do the work. It's time to do the work. Well, take a step back. What I had been doing before that happened was I had found somebody introduced me to the teachings of unity. I don't know if you're aware of the Unity Church. It's in Missouri, I believe, the main Kansas City, Missouri. They have the Unity Village. And there's Unity churches all over the world. And that Unity Church represents all religions, but it was all about the power inside of you. It was about the power that you have over your thoughts. And it was a new teaching from all the Protestant things that I had been raised with that taught us actually how to live a happy life and how to focus on the good in your life and let go of anything that was compromising you. Because if you're creating by focusing on good, then you're letting go of the bad. And I'm not saying that bad doesn't happen, but it happens. You make it as bad as you want it to be. That's what I'm saying. And you can make the good out of it.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So Archangel Michael.
Yes. But during that time, I started studying with somebody who had advertised that she could clear energy fields. And I had gone to a holistic practitioner here in Atlanta in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and he cleared my energy fields. He said, you've got all kinds of attachments and things that are trying to control you, which I couldn't see, but I knew something was wrong because that's why I was going to him. I was like, this is not right. And he said, you've got negative energies on you that I need to take off, and negative beings. So after 2 or 3 days, they came back because I didn't know how to hold it. And that's when I found this, I prayed and I found this information that there was a class in clearing energy fields. And I went to that. And this lady, I was already reading every metaphysical book I could find, every metaphysical book. I mean, I would read 3 books a week. I was obsessed with metaphysics and spirituality. And so had a book laying on the table in classroom, and it was by Anne Brewer, The 12 Powers of Man. And Anne Brewer was a big step into the DNA reconnection. Anne Brewer and Ruby, can't think of her name right now, but she wrote a book too. There's several new books that were coming out on reconnecting your DNA, and I was obsessed. This lady comes in teaching me all about dowsing, and I'm going to kind of show you guys about that in a minute. But she looked at the book and she said, that is she is my teacher. If you want to learn what she's teaching, I can help you. So I started going to this lady, learning about clearing energy fields. The energy fields need to be clear in order for your DNA to be reconnected. It has to have more light to come in. And so we have been blocked. And remember, we're energy vibrating at a certain level, a certain frequency to look solid. So this was exactly what I was looking for. And I had her do me, and I took classes on how to help other people. And it was first level, second level, third level, and blueprint repatterning. And this was a giant calling for me to do this for other people because it changed my life totally. Mm-hmm. And it put you empowered. It made life easier. It made you easier to observe other people, to observe your reactions, to not react in a negative way, but step back and be empowered by making a choice with clarity how you would react. And I started doing this for friends, for relatives. There were things I was doing. I don't like to brag about myself, but there were things I was doing. I had to help people stay on the planet because I had friends that were leaving and they were just overwhelmed with negative entities, negative beings, family members, with different things that were going on. And I was trying to teach them how to take care of themselves, but it didn't work with some people because they didn't want to be here. They had had enough. And that kind of keeps you from wanting to be a healer or anything else when you recognize it's a great responsibility and not everybody is willing to accept what you're teaching them. And so getting back to putting the last one in college, Archangel, I had worked at Northside Hospital. I was a registered nurse for 32 years and I had a great job. And he came to me and said, it's time. You have to do it. And I would feel like in making this choice, I felt like I would die if I didn't do the work. And I got so depressed that I thought I was going to have to kill myself and drive off a bridge because I was in a relationship. I had a husband that was dependent on me to pay a lot of bills and pay for insurance and a lot of things. But I did it anyway. I left the job and I started making a card. It wasn't that easy to leave. They asked me to take a 3-month sabbatical and get help. They thought I was, losing my mind to leave this great job. So I went and I dowsed again where to go. And I started going to a woman who immediately told me she understood. And she said, just make a card and see where that leads you. Make a card, show what you do. And that was in 2008. So I made the card. I started working. I was going to a Unity church. I would pass my card, and I haven't stopped since then. I have clients every week. Yeah.
So, if the audience has been listening, what we've heard so far is that you learned over the years, these are the things that you were exposed to and then started practicing. So DNA reconnection, blueprint repatterning, helping remove energy, negative energy from the person's energy field, and also you're a master dowser.
Right.
So now let's talk about how you put all of those together, and let's create a scenario of what it looks like when somebody comes to you for a session.
Right. Well, it has changed, Julie. It's really changed over the years because the energy on the planet has increased. The frequency of the planet has increased. And because of that, more and more DNA have been I can activate a higher level of DNA. Since 2018, I've been able to really fully activate it. When I first started, nobody had more than 2 DNA activated. And then I would work on them to get as many as 12. In 28, and then I had 13. I remember when my teacher found me and said, Cindy, you've gone to another level. You've got 13 DNA activated now.
13 DNA strands?
13 DNA strands activated now. You're going to have to get higher guidance. The more you go up in frequency, the guides that you work with need to be able to work with you. What a lot of us don't understand is that on this planet being so dense, and when I say dense, I'm talking about the 3-dimensional frequency. Divine beings had to lower their frequency in order to make contact with us. So I was acting as a representative of these beings to help other people to be enlightened enough with their DNA to connect into higher source, to get information. And I know this has happened because over the 23 years of my work, I have people come to me. I had a lady 2 weeks ago that I worked on 15 years ago. She brought me her grown child who was working on the PhD and said, I need you to help my daughter fix her the way you fixed me. Clear her the way you cleared me because it changed my life and she needs it badly right here. And she was right. And I have someone now that's calling me. I end up working with a lot of teenagers recently because,
cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
So, I'm having a few thoughts. Let's see if I can eke out the one that's the most appropriate for right now. So when you say fix people, like,
Yeah.
I think lots of people would be reticent to believe that somebody could. I'm doing here, by the way, I'm not saying no to anything about you or your work. I've already had a session. I know you.
Yeah.
I'm just helping to
Other people
dispel any doubt in the audience.
Yes.
So this isn't me saying, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But like how can we frame it so people understand? Because really how I feel
I want to go back just a little bit in my story, if I
oh,
could just add a couple of things, and that'll help you, I think. So
okay.
when I was going to this holistic doctor in Stone Mountain, I got a phone call from his partner who told me, "We see who you are. We know what you can do, and we're asking you to come and put your hands on Dr. So and so because he's going blind." Now, I did not know that I had that much power. But this was like the second or third time that people had come to me telling me what they saw in me, because they would say, they would gift me classes on Reiki. "You're a healer. You need to take my Reiki class." That happened to me 3 times, and I have I'm a master, a Reiki master. And so it's not something I just made up or came in contact with, that I could help people do things and enter their energy fields, because the energy fields is what's compromising the light that God sends to us. We've been in a war between good and evil on this planet, and the negative forces have done everything they can, especially on the light workers. I've found we got doubled up to keep us from being in our light. Now, when I talk about light, I'm talking about increasing your consciousness, increasing the availability of the DNA to reconnect into a higher source connection. I'm not doing it by myself. I'm just the conduit.
Facilitator.
I'm the facilitator and a conduit. I can pull in energy.
Yeah.
There's times now you bring in energy with your left hand and you give it with your right hand. There's times when I have so much energy coming in that I can feel like the pounding. It feels like my side of my neck and my chest are just going to explode. There's so much energy coming in. And so I have to kind of take that in. And when I'm working with people, I recognize that it's just energy. But I'm just doing what I know and I have experienced to work with what has worked previously. But
Yeah.
the thing was,
And there's lots of good testimonies on your website too, if
yes,
people want to check that out.
and when I first started doing it, like I said, I only had, when I first taught the lesson, the lady took 3 months to clear me. The prayers were gigantic. I have a whole book of how to clear all the energy fields, the mental body, the physical body, the spiritual body, the emotional body, the etheric body, how to get those cleared out. And you're wondering, how did that get there? Well, in this dark place, anytime we shine our light, we're almost like uh, we're drawing something like bugs to the light. The darkness sees the light, and they head this way and we start getting compromised. So I can feel things. I can go on. I can even go further out, that my teacher taught me to do off-planet warfare, but I won't get into that today because
So,
I'm so good at feeling things. I knew when the dark ships were coming to the planet, and I could push them back with another Syrian light worker.
yeah. So for those who might be turned away by feeling like somebody else is going to fix them,
Yeah.
I think we could reframe it to say that you hold an energy, a frequency, and a vibration, and you have a team
Yeah.
of guides, ascended masters, angelic beings,
Yeah.
etc. And together, the person who comes to you, the guides, and the angels
And they're
are able to create an energetic field that helps that person come into the blueprint that was made for them, and to reconnect to their DNA
yes,
and help repattern their blueprint to a blueprint that matches
their soul.
who they are, yeah, and who they came here to be, and their soul's mission and soul's purpose.
So the main thing I teach people is that we want to clear out that soul pathway, because the soul pathway should be smooth, easy, going downstream. I have people come to me saying, "How do you do this? How do you survive?" And you're like, it's a God thing. The mind cannot experience the magic, the creative powers. The mind's just trying to keep you safe. We're going back to the heart and the soul, because the heart's so much more intelligent than the mind. So what that happens is, when we're reconnecting to a higher guidance, each of us can connect in. But over the years, more and more DNA has come in that I can help activate. But when I work with a person, it's not just my people coming in, it's their people. A lot of people do not understand that they're never, ever alone here. You come in with plenty of help. There's lots of help. So what we're doing is just making you aware, because who else on this planet, how many people on this planet has had someone come up to you and say, "You're a big light. You're a big light. You've got a lot of power. You're really strong." Who tells you that? Who tells you that, besides your parents, sometimes nowadays, like, encouraging you? My mother didn't encourage me. She said I was in a cult and that I was going crazy, and all kinds of things like that. That's okay. So you had to be kind of under the radar a little bit for a while, and I didn't advertise. And in fact, it's all word of mouth now. And only once or twice I ever advertised. It's all word of mouth. So if I wasn't doing what I needed to do for people, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be talking to you. But because over the years I've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people to reconnect to the truth of their soul and to their power. It's because of that, now I I sometimes have more work than I can get to, but I it's really nice. Sometimes when I don't have work, I know it's because I need to rest. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I've got a break today." Oh, yeah. Um,
So let's share with the audience a little bit what a session looks like. So
okay.
you do sessions, long distance or in person. So
Yes.
somebody comes to you for a session, and they email you, and then you contact them, and then what happens after that?
Okay, we set up a time and I talk. They can come to my house. We can talk on Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger. There's plenty of different ways we can speak and talk. And I have to get their birth date, and I get their email address and the name they're going by now. And I have the capabilities with my helpers. I just go into their energy fields. I can do this over the phone pretty easy.
With
But
their permission, obviously, because
oh
they've come to you asking for that.
yeah, I tell, like, I've got somebody now that's wanting me to work on their son, and as soon as she calls me, I can tell her what's going on with her son so that we can get him in better shape. But this is a chart. If anybody wants to dowse, that's my chart. I'm a member of the American Society of Dowsers. I have been since 1999. And I use Walt Wood's book, and I studied dowsing with my teacher. And I was obsessed with dowsing, and I dowsed for hours and hours and hours. Kids would miss meals because mama was in the basement dowsing. But it was obsession. When you have a great gift, many times you have to be gentle with yourself, because when your soul is telling you what you need to do and the world is telling you what to do as a human, you have to be able to combine that to do the work. And y'all don't need to know about all that, because not everybody's on this gigantic pathway. You have to let go of everything to serve. But that's what eventually I had to do in order to serve. But I use pendulums, and I just can hold this over a chart, and connect in and I ask for my ascension team. I've already set up teams that I work with. I work with an ascension team, which is about the DNA reconnection and going to the new earth. And I connect in always with Archangel Michael and Jesus and Saint Germain. And then my teacher liked for us to call in House of the Goddess, and all the goddesses come in if we need them also. So I have a plethora of people that divine beings that come in, and then it circles, and I ask questions, and I've got this would be, if it goes this way, this would be yes, and this would be no. But then I count and see. My teacher.
Well, not so much about the process, but like,
Yeah.
okay, that because I want to like, okay. So for instance,
I have a list of what I check. After I've got this set up, then I can use this to go ask questions. I've got about 40 different areas that I go through.
Yeah. And after you do that, you send the person a report.
After I finish it, I type it up and I email the 4-page report. Now, now, Julie, over the years, 23 years I've been doing this, so it has evolved.
So today, what does it look like?
Today, there's more than 40 things. In the beginning, there was only about 10 or 11 areas.
Well, let's talk about what a session looks like today, like the report. When you report back, what information do you include in there?
I include the time. Oh, it's a lot.
And okay, so what happens, everybody, is that you contact her. She does her dowsing work, as she just mentioned, and then with her ascension team.
And clear.
She emails you back a report. And this all happens before you even ever talk. She has you read your report and sit with that for a few days before your initial contact. So I just want to make that clear, because I'm trying to show them what the process looks like.
Yes. So then I like for them to read it. Now, not everybody can, it's not that smooth every time. Sometimes they're like, you got to clear me now. I can't take it. Or, they're very, very sick. They're in hospital. I have family members calling me, asking me to help. I have a lot of people trying to help one another. I get that a lot. And I'm saying, you know what? If this person's not ready for it, if this person's not in agreement for it, I can't do it unless it's a family member and a direct family member. But so I give them the 4-page report, which includes I'll start from the back. The 4th page is basically a bibliography, because what happened was, when I first started doing the work, is people became codependent. I don't think I'm clear. Can you help me? Can you check me again? I'm not sure. And so what I did, you have to give people the responsibility of how to work with this themselves, because everything is cleared when I clear it. There's only a very few things that can come back. And the reason why it can is because on this planet, we have free will. And the free will is about how you operate from your mind. And what concepts are you willing to accept from this mind, and what concepts do you need to say, no, that's not right. We're going to not do that. Take responsibility for your thoughts and focus on the positive. People get compromised, and they'll know it now. If they've been clear and it feels good, then you get compromised. You're compromised, and you call and say, Cindy, can you check me? Can you clear me? So I doused another sheet of archangels and ascended masters, something like that. And I douse which ones they need to connect with. Not that they're gods that they need to work with, but that they have certain signature energies that need to be combined into your energy field to help with your transformation from the lower frequency to a higher frequency. And nobody's clearing is exactly the same, but I still go through all the different pieces to make sure they're cleared. And then I'll let them know, you didn't have this, you did have that, and this is over, this is too many, this is a lot. And
when you say this, okay, so for instance, so let's go back to the
Tell
the biography. What's included in the biography?
the bibliography
Oh, the
is
bibliography.
the bibliography at the end is lots of um, videos, books. The beginning was just books. And now, as it progressed, I put YouTube videos, people that you can listen to. My new person that I love is Ismail Perez. He wrote the latest and the greatest, Our Cosmic Origin, which is fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend that for people that want to, if they just want to learn more about who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
I need to add one thing, and I know this may be a little off, but people need to recognize, when I was talking about the light workers, there was a clarion call about the multiverse for help here. And millions of divine beings wanted to come in and help this planet to go to the new earth. But only some were chosen. The most powerful divine souls were chosen to come in and do the work to bring us to the new earth. And I have to explain to my clients, my light worker clients, you are not here accidentally. You have a mission in your soul. If it's nothing but to hold the light where you are, that is your mission. To show somebody kindness, that is your mission. Because I was talking to a client early today. If you're not, as a light worker, you don't even know sometimes how you're transforming lives. And you've done that, Julie. You've transformed lives. You don't even know it till they come back and say, you said this to me and that changed my life. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because we're all one together in this big world. And I have to remind people that you, as a light worker, are one of the most powerful beings in the universe. And not only are you that powerful, you've got the power of God flowing through you in every moment. Why not take the responsibility to connect into that God power, into your God self, and be who you truly are, and live a life that's free form from all compromise? Compromise being anything that puts you in struggle. If you're struggling, something's happening that you need to get rid of. Yes. I'm reading
Oh,
words.
my childhood friend Angie Moon says Julie makes a difference in my life every day.
Every day. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Angie. I love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. So in my report, you had all of those. Well, first of all, to back up what we were saying is, really we are here because we are in a 3D world.
Yeah.
We can be taught to believe, it's about go to school, get the job, go to college, get the master's, get a higher paying job, buy all the stuff, have kids, and you get stuck in this trap. But lots of people don't get stuck in the trap. And they're like, wait, hey, I think there's something more. And it's like, hey, yes, we're about 10% physical and about 10% soul, and we're about 80% source. So if we connect to source and live from source, then we are living our divine blueprint.
That's right.
And when you give people a report, they not only have all those resources in the bibliography, but you say, hey, you got some negative energies that are kind of attached to you like a magnet. So let's clear those. You got this coming through the maternal line and this coming through the paternal line. And here's the angels and ascended masters who would like to work with you at this time if you wish to develop a relationship. And you also, one thing you did for me, because, before I met you, I had been turned on to many, many things in my life because I had been a lifelong searcher, but
yes,
you were the first person to tell me that I had Arcturian roots. Like, I didn't even know I was a starseed. I didn't even know what starseed meant. You know what I mean?
You're definitely Arcturian. You're so brilliant. Yeah.
And so that was interesting too, to learn, like, oh, like, start learning about my multidimensionality and all of that. So it does. It
You're
does
more
clear
than what
stuff,
you think
but
you
it also opens you up to like, hey, like there's Julie, the avatar Julie on planet Earth, and then there's a Palladian avatar and a Arcturian avatar. And I know really the thing is to make it work here on Earth, but if we can access more of our dimensions
all
and we're connected to source, there's so much more we can do than
and what
how than if we don't have all that.
because the problem, and I clear all these negative programs, because from the time you're born, you're programmed by the family, your peers, the church, the school, the government. We're programmed that we're in danger, we have to be cared for, the government has to take care of us, the church has to keep us from going to hell, the parents are trying to keep us to to be safe and to obey the church and obey the government.
And
But
obey them.
but why? But why do we have to live in fear? Why are we told to live in fear? We're told to live in fear to control us. And why do we have to be controlled? And this is when I lose it. We have to be controlled because we've got too much power. We've got a lot more power than the dark beings who try to control us. So they are afraid if we get in our power.
Yeah.
And that's why we've ended up like we are, because we're in a control mode because of how powerful we are.
I think there's something else really important to
Mhm.
mention that ties in right with what you were saying is that the beings that are hanging out in lower frequencies,
Right.
dragging people down, siphoning their energy, scaring the shit out of them, controlling them without their knowledge or consent,
Yes.
they really are not powerful at all. They look
No.
powerful, they seem powerful, but they're like beggars.
Yeah.
None of their energy is self-sourced. They
No.
have to get it from somewhere else, which is usually you or me or somebody else. So they are not of a self-sourcing. They're not self-sustaining or self-sourcing.
Mhm.
And so that's why they're like leeches. That's why they are siphoning off energy. That's why they do need to control us by fear. So that right there, that just cuts their legs off. If you just remember, like the only power they have is your fear.
Yes. That's
That's
it.
all they got. And
Yeah.
if they don't have that, they're going to starve to death. So we do need to be in our power. We do need to be connected to source. We do need to start remembering that we are multidimensional, and we have the strength of our ancestors, all of the qualities that they carry, all
Yes.
of the qualities that we carry in other dimensions.
Mhm.
We have source on our side. We have so much going for us if
Yeah.
we just remember, tune in, find, guides like Cindy, find people who can inspire you like me. And then eventually you become that person. And that's how we build this, I don't like to say army because it sounds too military, but like an army of love, it's
Mhm.
like we just keep proliferating.
Yes.
And so that was just divine inspiration, and I had to say it, but I didn't mean to take over
Now
it.
you go. You're done. You're good. You're good. I need to. I can't talk the whole time. You need to help me. Um, can I tell a little story? So
Of
I
course.
was. I, this is true. I live pretty multidimensional, and so I was all my life not knowing it, and now I know for sure. But I was in Taos, spending the night in Taos one night, and you know how Taos is. Taos is a strict trickster place. It's a port for international. And what happened, I was spending the night there and I was just about to sleep. I was in that twilight mode, and these people came up to me and um, they tried to be friendly. And then one of them grabbed my arm and the other one held my arm, and they
Beings.
beings, and
Mhm.
they looked at me. And this is all in my mind, I'm
Yeah,
seeing
and you're seeing it with your third eye.
it with, and they said, "What we're going to do to you now is I'm going to suck all the blood out of you right now." Now, for anybody besides me, I mean, besides somebody that's aware, that this would be a nightmare that you would be having. This is an example of some kind of horrible nightmare. And I said in my drink, whatever, I said, no, you're not. And there was absolutely no fear in me at all. And I said, no, you're not. You're going to leave me alone and walk away. And out of my dream, I started screaming, no, no, no. And they went away. And I was not, I went back to sleep without fear, without thinking, oh my God, they're going to come back and get me. No, because I had the power over them and I knew it.
Mhm.
And that's what and then even in the world
So
that they just disappeared. But there's a lot of interdimensional beings up in Taos because it's a port, that's how we travel through the
yeah.
ports to different dimensions and
Well,
different.
and there's lots of not so good history there too.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And
Well,
that where there's wounding, there's
yeah.
the integrity of the energy field is
Oh
not as strong, and so things can get in. And my friend says, yes, they're sucking the life out of me. I want to be cleared. I should not be living in fear. Well, Angie, maybe you might want to consider a visit with Cindy.
thank you. Yeah. And I have, good Lord, I sit at the computer crying sometimes from all the beautiful emails I get from people who the testimonials. And the beauty of it now, doing this long, not only having people bring their children to me, their grown children, also the beauty is they have opened up to their gifts and they want to share it with me, just like you are calling me to be on your show.
Yeah.
I have people who've written books. I've been on so many uh, different speaking engagements. I work all over the world. I have so many light workers that are in the trenches and they get contaminated and immediately they call me to clear them. It's overwhelming. And I do that. I have people in Berlin I work with all the time. And I was on my way to Berlin when COVID hit and I lost a lot of money on tickets because I had 3 international flights that went down the drain. But and I was looking forward. I'd never been to Berlin. I've been in different places in Germany working, but once you get into the groove of life and your soul pathway, it's a very smooth way to go down the path of your life. You recognize when you get in struggle. When you're getting into struggle, you have to pull back and then say, what needs to be cleared from this? Do I need just to be patient? Do I need to wait? Do I need to clear something out of here? That's the big thing is because God, we are not supposed to be struggling on this planet. This is the pristine earth, God's gift to us. We should live in high frequency love. And there's people that are doing it in communities now all around. We saw it happening. I don't know. Carrie Lynn's was all about making a community down near Austin. And there's other people I know. There's a community going in uh, Asheville. There's communities all over the world now, Costa Rica, where like-minded people can live together in unity. So it's a wonderful time to be here to see. But still, we're cleaning it up. We're cleaning up. We've been in. This has been a war that people aren't conscious of. A war between good and evil for a long time.
And a lot of people feel that, I mean, because of we're going through the photonic light belt and there's all this light coming in and
Oh yeah.
so much off planet help and so much on planet help. And some people really say it like this: the war has been won. The only thing that makes it look like it hasn't is all the dross that's still clearing and all the programs that we are still carrying, right? So the only way that the old is alive is in any programming that we have not cleared, any fear that we have not cleared, and like I said, the leftover, like the dross and the dregs and stuff.
Yes.
But that's a really good view to hold, because then it just doesn't have power over you, because it's easy to see, oh, the world is falling apart, and all the animals are dying, the children are starving, and this
It's
is
not true.
happening, and children
Absolutely
trafficking. It's like,
true. And there's two,
yeah,
and
children.
there are
Yeah,
two
go on.
people on the planet, is what the Gates people try to tell us.
Tell us
There's
what.
that there's
Oh
not
yeah, too many people.
people. There's not enough people. We've quit, because of birth control. We don't have the number of people that should be here, and lots of high level souls want to come in now.
Yeah,
So it's really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we just need to remember that, like, the light already won.
God has won. I tell people all the time,
Yeah,
God has won. We're cleaning up,
yeah.
and I'm a cleaning woman. So I'm just going to kind of list off the things that I clear out as a cleaning woman. I go through genetics. I go through the ancestor. I clear the negative DNA codes, genetic and any other DNA codes, and I count them. And there's a few things I count that when you come back and you return to me, I can check to make sure everything has processed the way it should be. There's just a few things that can come in on you, which I'll let you know. So I cleared genetics. Yeah.
Before you go forward, I'm going to give you the whole screen for a minute so I can go get my report. Is that okay?
Okay, go get your report. I've got reports in here, but yeah.
Okay.
You go get yours.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be safe, Mom. I'm all by myself. So the things that I'm clear, there's a lot of things that'll never come back once I get them out of there. The negative programs, and over the years, more and more I'm able to get out. So now it's like I'm getting out everything. And one of the things I've found, the latest things I've found is your power. What is blocking you from being in your complete total power? And I've found people with 20 blocks, 30 blocks. I've got a person I'm working with intimately, closely, who had 38 blocks in his energy fields. And he is just evolving and shining. And he was already an empath. And now he's doing things and he's like, hey, I've not been like this before. And it's just a miracle to see people changing like they are. It's just wonderful. So I do all the DNA. I clear any dark spirits, any attachments. We find people who feed off of other people who have cords on you. I clear cords, implants. I clear negative entities, negative beings. The other thing is, another real big thing about people is that we're not taught how to love ourselves. Nobody from the time we're born, unless we have really good parents, we're not taught self-love. And I find people who are their own worst enemy because they beat themselves up by not loving themselves just as they are. So I take out the blocks in self-love. And because of that, people start being all that they are and loving who they are. And I had to work on that. I wrote a book. One thing I didn't tell Jill, I wrote a book in 2012. It's called Celestial Being, How to Shift to the Fifth Dimension. And I have lots of it's on Amazon. My book is
sorry.
my book is on Amazon by Cindy Bentley, Celestial Being. It's about it was published in 2012. It's about 12 years old now, but it still has lots of affirmations and tools that you can use to love yourself. That was a big thing I taught in workshops.
And it's sold on, if you go to her website, there's a link to the book, so you can buy the book on her website.
You can buy the book on my website. You can go to Amazon. Amazon has it also in Kindle, so it can also have it downloaded if you'd like to do that. But
and it's called Celestial Beings.
Celestial Being, How to Shift to Fifth Dimensional. And the concept of that is that we're going back to our celestial self, the true self of who we are, the beings that we really are.
How to shift to fifth dimensional living. Is that what it says on the book?
Yeah. Celestial Being, How to Shift to Fifth Dimension. How to shift to the fifth dimension. So, and that was way before we started saying New Earth all the time. So I did fifth dimension. So
yeah.
And then I also clear, let's see, self-love, blocks in your power, any type of programming. What else, Julie?
Yeah, can I say some of the things on
It's,
the list?
yes.
Okay.
It used to take me hours and hours and hours to do this because I'm a Virgo, and I go back over it over and over saying, now is this, but now I trust what I found.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Practice makes perfect. So this is the bibliography she was talking about. And like she said, she now adds, videos and stuff. This was from 2019. I can't believe it's been 4 years already.
Yeah.
So
did I have self-love and power on there? I don't think I did. No, I did. I had that. I found that in 2018, I think.
Removal of all negative genetic codes, behaviors, curses, implants, patterns, habits, imprints, and programming. And then genetic clearing on the maternal side, the paternal side, past life clearing, negative soul vows, negative soul contracts, negative soul agreements, subconscious, layers of subconscious and cellular consciousness, and that are transformed into light and love. So any negative programs running in the subconscious, chakra clearing.
Yep, I do. I'll check out
really blockages, like high frequency so frequency receptors that are blocked.
That's right. A lot of this, Julie, I'm going to interject.
Yeah, sorry.
A lot of this I found along the way because I would be working with people, and I would have someone be more receptive than someone else. And I had a guy that I'd been working with that had severe ADHD, but also, what is it when you have to put everything in place all the time and wash your hands?
OCD. OCD.
Yeah, the OCD. Well, I recognize that he is a high level sensitive, but they've learned how to go into our bodies and take out the positive receptors when the light is coming in for our transformation to the new earth. We have this inflow of the light, like you were just talking about earlier, the light coming in from the CMEs, the solar flares. Well, people couldn't integrate these the receptors were screwed up. So I learned that. So I went in and cleared out all the negative receptors. It just goes on and on how things can, and I knew about the negative DNA codes because Spirit told me to read for the second time Dolores Cannon's Convoluted Universe. And it's 3 books, and there's like 600 pages each. And the last book on the last page talked about, Dolores says, you've got to be able to clear out all the negative DNA codes in order for the DNA to be activated. So I said, I just added that to the list. And somebody called me once and they were screaming. They said they were filled with parasites and viruses that were attacking them. And I said, let me look. And they said, you've got to clear it out. And it was not physical. It was etheric parasites and viruses. So boy, I added that to the list. Now, I may only find one person every 6 months that has the parasites and viruses, but I'm sure as heck going to put it on the list because that's something I need to check for. So I'm checking for so much, and it's like doubled. It's gone from 11 things to 40 things.
I mean, the list is huge. Like there can be negative seals blocking your energy bodies. And look at this. I had 18 blocks in my receptivity to love and self-love.
Yeah. And that's not many. I have some with 20 something. And it has to do with how your parents loved you.
You found 580,500 negative DNA codes.
Yeah.
I had no etheric viruses and parasites. That's good. 258 trapped emotions.
And that has
that amount can cause illness, you said.
Yeah.
You found 83 soul fragments and helped me reintegrate them back into myself.
How old were
This
you?
goes on and on, you guys. It's freaking amazing.
How old were you? Because I tell what kind of light work.
Okay. So this was, well, I don't know what, let's see what month we did the reading.
What at the very top? How many? No, not how old you were. How many? How
Oh,
old?
13 billion year old Arcturian light worker.
I knew you were Arcturian.
And then my friend Carrie Lynn, she was a 15 billion year old Palladian light worker. And then my friend Ora Jonah was a 14 billion year old Palladian light worker. So we were 15, 14, and 13. But now, then, there's this. Okay, so first of all, I want to say your work reminds me a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Popiotek.
No.
I'll send you a message so you can check out his page and his work. But there was something else I was going to say. Oh, do you know who Franco Di Nicola is?
No.
He passed away a couple years ago, but I met him and the lady next to me, and I had just met her too, and she was like, you should ask Franco where you're from. Ask Franco where you're from. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to be like on this earth. Like, it's okay, like I don't need to. And I was like, yeah, but Julie, you made the scenario where you have the lady talking in your ear and you got Franco to ask right behind you. So out of curiosity, why don't you just ask? And I politely asked him, I said, hey, I'm not, not trying to intrude on your space or get a freebie or anything, but this woman keeps telling me to ask you. So I'm asking you, if you don't want to answer, that's fine. And he looked at me, and he said, you know what? He said, this is very rare. But he said, I really can't, like, when I look at you, he said, so you're kind of, what did he say? Anyways, in the end, he said, he can't see a route home for me anywhere. In other words, I like to travel everywhere, but I don't call one place home. That's how he put it.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting.
Well, and when you're that old, you've been everywhere anyway. The 15 billion year olds, and when I tell people what type of light work there, it doesn't necessarily be that's your place of origin. It means that's the type of light worker that you are.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. That's why it said, yeah.
And I've been
a place of origin. It said Arcturian light worker. Yeah. I do get
it. So I'm a Syrian.
Yeah, I remembered that.
I have Anunnaki DNA. And if you're familiar with Michael Jaco, I never knew anybody else like that until I met him. And he has Anunnaki DNA and he's Syrian. But if you read about our cosmic origin, you recognize that Neberu, where the Anunnaki came from, was up there near Sirius. And when Sirius ascended to the fifth dimension, it knocked Neberu out of alignment with their rotation around the sun. And now it rotates around the sun and then around the earth, and has been doing every 3,600 years or something like that. And when they come by, and that's the beginning of that's a whole nother program we can talk about.
Yeah, you'll be back. I hope you'll come back so we can go into
there's
stuff.
There's a whole nother thing right there. But so there's another piece to that I add sometimes, is what soul pathway, what wait a minute, can I just step out and get a book?
Yeah.
It's the oh God.
I'm gonna look at my report while she stepped out and see. She removed blocks from my pineal gland.
Yep, you got to get that cleared out. Because
you told me which ascended masters and archangels wanted to work with me at that time.
And that can change later on. I've had to update people. But there's a book called The 12 Rays of Light. And then there's your Ascension Mission piece and the puzzle piece. Joshua David Stone was a great teacher of mine. He was a prolific writer. I think he passed away in '09 or '06, but he was a teacher. He started the Westka, uh, Joshua David Stone, Your Puzzle Piece, and it talks about what what are the 12 what of the 12 rays are you working out of as your mission piece. And so when I was in Santa Fe, I went to a meeting, and I was called up on stage. Never fails. I always get called on stage for stuff. And with a guy that lives in Los Lunas, a great light worker. And he said, Cindy, he met me before. He said, from the minute I met you, all I could see was gold, and you're very golden. Well, to go back to 2010, I was at Dolores Cannon's International Paranormal Conference in Northern Arkansas. And what happened there is that I had an aura picture taken, and all of me was golden with a little bit of brighter yellow around my eyes, but I was golden. And so the guy looked at me and he says, you know, you're golden. So you must be working out of the 12th ray. And I had never heard anything. Have you heard of this before? I hadn't heard of it.
I've heard of the rays, but I haven't heard of that book. Okay, let me want to make a caption for it.
Yeah, the 12th ray is about the ascension process.
Who's the author?
This author is Natalie Glasson, Glasson. Natalie Glasson. And she talks about the 12 rays of light. And the 12th ray is one golden. And that's your mission. Whatever ray you're in represent the mission that you're here on the planet. And Joshua David Stone talked about it in length, but he only went to 7. He only explained it up to the 7 rays.
Most people only talk about 7, yeah.
And then this lady who's in the UK, she's been doing this for a long time, channeling. She channeled that and he talked about 12 rays, but he only explained 7 rays. And she talks about all 12 rays in her book. So and what masters work with you in each ray to help you. So the 12th ray is a blazing flame of golden light that anchors the energy of the Christ consciousness and the power to burn up any negative energy, replacing it with the purity of the Creator. Now, what do I do? That's what I do. Mm-hmm. And I'm working out of the 12th ray. So what a wonderful, but I didn't get it till a few years ago. So all this time. And so that is my basic home of my soul in that 12th ray. They're my family, the people that we work with. And I do meditations where I'm exhausted sometimes, and I lay out and I say, okay, my 12th ray family, all my golden beings, I'm here. And they just kind of lay me out, and I say, rejuvenate me, give me the energy and the power to carry on. Because being a single woman on this planet, doing this kind of work. Now it's really easy right now, but it hadn't always been this easy. You get a lot of back, like, oh God, she's crazy. Don't go, But because of the years that I've done it, and I've got proof over and over and over again, the work that I'm doing is transformational, and people are transforming. They talk about how light they feel, how good they feel, how wonderful it is. And then for some reason, they don't feel that wonderful again. They come for a follow-up, and I say, well, this is what you need to work. You're not working enough on this, or you need to increase this. Are you doing or I remind them, are you connected to God? Are you meditating every day? Are you taking care of self-care? There's things you have to do to stay in that pathway. If you're going to be in your light body, it's about taking responsibility for that light body to come into a clear vessel. And Jesus talked about all the time about the body is your temple, and the temple of our soul. So I thought, well, let's see what you want me to see, which ray you're in, dear.
Oh, you're reading my mind. I was like, I
I
was like,
don't.
if I ask, is that kind of like, oh, give me a freebie? Or I was like, oh, well, and then you brought it up. I think I know, but I want to see if what you say matches what I think. Or yeah.
Mhm. So at the present time, I'm asking on Julie Pershing, what is the ray that she's doing her mission work from? Do you know what it is?
Blue. It could have changed, but I don't know. Does it ever change? I thought it was Blu-ray. Is that correct?
I'm getting you in the 12th ray with me.
Maybe it changed. You know, that's really interesting.
Because that's what you're doing with everything you're doing now. You're helping people on the ascension process.
That's so interesting. I'll tell you what. So, after I met you, I found this Facebook page and YouTube channel called Sology, and now they have their own network. It's like their complete own platform. You know how
Wow.
YouTube is its own platform and Facebook is its own platform. It's called sologynetwork.com. And anyway, I met this guy on there. He's the person. Todd Medina is his name.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put this in the captions. And he started Sology Network. And anyway, long story short, I met all these other light workers on there, right? Well, I had his daughter come on the show a while ago because we became good friends because there was a Sology Fest in Arkansas last year and in Sedona the year before that. So I went to the Sology Fest and I met his daughter. We became fast friends. We have like soul connections, like kind of an auntie vibe, kind of a mother vibe, sister vibe. And I brought her on the show, and I never knew that she could see auras because she never told me that. And she said she could see auras. And I said, you can? I said, well, what's my aura look like right now? And she was like, I just see gold. So it matches with what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had that aura picture forever, and I just couldn't figure out why it was all so gold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard of a gold aura. What's going on here? So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. Very high level.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very, very good.
Give me one.
So that's good. People who really want to know more about this guy, Joshua David Stone, really pushed the ascension process, and I really worked a lot out of his information when I first started. Between him and Ann Brewer's book, The 12 Powers of Man, activating all of your DNA strands.
Oh, yeah, the 12 powers of man. We could just do captions for days. We'll just give you Cindy's full library.
Yeah, and this library's been tweedled down over the years because it's been so many books.
I think I have 13 books. I got rid of like 90% of my possessions last year, or in 2000. Yeah, in 2000. Well,
you moved what year? I moved.
I started getting rid of my stuff in November 2021, and I moved back to Oregon in March 2022. Who is the author of the 12 Powers of Man?
Well, there's two books like that. One is Ann Brewer, and the other one is a Unity book. Last name Holmes. Something Holmes. Holms.
We'll give him who? We'll give him Ann Brewer. How about that?
Something Holmes is his last name, and he 12 Powers of Man also. Okay. But that was for Unity Church.
Okay, I'll just do the Ann Brewer one.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, you've given people a lot of resources.
Yeah, and there's just so much that we could, and being an intuitive, I'll show you the book of Ann Brewer, but also there's all kinds of people writing books now about things. And this is Ann Brewer's revised edition of this one. This is called The Power of 12. A new approach to personal empowerment, the power of 12. And that's an Ann Brewer book, and she updated it anymore. And it's about receiving DNA when it's least expected, and more you know, managing anger, clairaudience, all
What does it say there?
the power of 12.
So is this after the other book?
This is another book. I mean, this is an updated version of this, but the
And
other
does she
book,
spell, sorry to interrupt, does she spell her name with an E on the end or no?
yes, Brewer.
No, I mean, does Ann?
And with the E too, yes.
Okay, because the first time I didn't spell it with that. I had a feeling it was that way, but I didn't spell it that way.
I think the 12 Powers of Man is Ernest Holmes is his name. Ernest Holmes.
Okay.
The 12 Powers of Man.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then that came after. I don't know. Either this came before or this came after. But this was first published in 98.
Okay. So Ernest, what's his last name? The other guy?
Holmes, Holmes. And this is on your book list right there too. I think it's on your book
I
list.
had a feeling, but since you're right here, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. The powers of 12, which is the 12 DNA strands. But then also we've got Cryon, who wrote tons of information on the DNA and activating it, and that there's a lot of lots of etheric strands. And I'm saying etheric is because we are. And so there's a lot more than 12 strands. I'm just saying.
You know, I recently, well, I won't go into my whole story, but since I've been here, I've been guided by spirit to start working with my DNA. And at first I didn't understand it because I thought they were talking about physical DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to figure out that they were talking about etheric.
Yes.
Yeah. And
so,
one of our guests says, oh, cool. I asked myself recently, how can I know what color ray I am? So perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, because there's so many, just like we have layers, right? We have a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, etheric, causal.
yes.
So then there's all those layers to our DNA too, right? So yeah.
And there's many, and when I clear, I gotta make this very clear to everybody that's listening to me. When I do clear for the DNA, and anything I clear, I don't just clear you here. I clear any aspect of you, any time, any place, any dimension, any universe in the multiverse. All aspects of you are getting cleared. It's not just you here, because I can't just clear the piece of you that's here and not clear all of you. So that's the beauty of this. Even when I clear the ancestry, may go back 10,000 years where it was added to the DNA. So it clears thousands of people. So this is a big thing. What we're doing with this is gigantic, much bigger than I could ever imagine. Now, I knew years ago that only 30% of me was on this planet. And then I'm the captain of a Syrian ship, and I'm a warrior, and I know that. And so sometimes the warrior comes out in me. And I'm trying to keep it low. I can't keep it on a low, but I have had attacks over the years. So knowing that you're a bright light and that you've got work to do on the planet, you become a target. And so I have been targeted. So I keep shields up every day. I keep shields up. Many times I have to keep shields up. And somebody told me even recently that I was being stalked, and I was like, and by somebody in another dimension. Well, I couldn't figure out who it was. I found last week who it was. And something happened when I left the country. I was in the UK for a couple of weeks and I got really sick.
Mm.
Not sick like I would ever been before. And I was like, wow. And I was under attack. Didn't recognize it until recently, I got better, but I was clearing myself a lot, trying to stay out of this negative energy. So I'm a warrior though. I am a warrior. I have had to do a lot of fights against the dark forces, but God wins. And because I know God wins, I have no fear.
Yeah. Yeah. My childhood friend is asking, what's the best way to contact Cindy? So Angie, if you see there's a ticker tape here, maybe you could get a pen and write it down. If you go to her website, dnareconnection.com, there's her email there where you can contact her. Because this is so public, I don't just want to give out her email address. But you just go to her website and it's right there.
If Julie has your information, she can email it to me and I'll call you. You've got her.
If you agree.
If you got her email address, if you'll just pass it on to me, I'll email her if that's good.
Okay. So Angie, if you want, you can text me either on my phone or through Messenger with your email address, and I'll pass it along to Cindy for you. So either way you want to go, you're VIP, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, gosh, what a gift to have you on here. And no doubt that as I told you, for much of my adult life, I was a seeker and doing my homework, and I'm still doing my homework, and
it never ends, Julie.
Branching out to helping people in ways that I wasn't offering before. Spirit has said, okay, it's time to put yourself out there now. So I've recently been offering my services as a transformational catalyst, or under the name Divine Guidance, which was the name that was given to me. That's what the work should be called. So but why I'm saying all of this is because no doubt that when I came to you, that just opened up a whole new path for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
it gives me so much joy to see the work operating in people, the clearing. People just, they find their job, they find their mate, they get well, they move to another country. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I had people in Santa Fe a couple moved to Portugal after they worked with me. I had people, they just do. And I've had people years later write me and tell me, you don't know what happened, but let me tell you what happened after I got cleared.
My friend Ora Jonah moved to Portugal after she met with you, but it was not like right after, but she did. Yeah. And now she just moved back to Canada, to Alberta.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Well, what does Spirit say? What do the guides say? What does Cindy say? Would you be willing to come on here another time? And because there's many topics we can cover, because you're like the Library of Alexandria. You're like an Akashic record.
Thank you. I would be happy to come back. That would be great. I love your energy too.
Okay.
You're just getting younger and younger all the time too. I mean, it's like, wow. Yeah.
You bathe in that. You bathe in the light of Spirit, and yeah.
And I mean, how long did you stay in Santa Fe?
Holy cow! I lived there for 18 years, from 2003 to 2021.
Yeah, and I left in 21 also. I came in 2011, so I stayed 10 years.
Yeah,
in Santa Fe.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we are still connected. That it wasn't just like, oh, you left Santa Fe and I left Santa Fe, and then
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
and like I stay connected to Carrie Lynn too. We talk. There's different, and I've got a lot of people that have lived in Santa Fe that I have moved out because it's like a transformational place.
Right.
People leave, and then I have clients, Julie, who one of the ways we connect is that they once lived in Santa Fe.
Yeah, yeah, it's a hub of sorts. It's definitely a
Yes.
spiritual hub. It's like a spiritual mecca.
Yeah.
It's changing a lot though, but
Yeah.
my mentor said that what happens in Santa Fe is that lots of people who are supposed to be out there doing their light worker, um, they go and hide under the umbrella of Santa Fe, and then they don't go out into the world and do their work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got kicked out of the Santa Fe nest.
Yeah, totally.
I kicked myself out. I evicted myself. I could just hear spirit saying, like, it's time, you're done. It's time to go.
So one of the things that happened, and I'll just do that, and I know we get
Yeah.
into time now, but while I needed to be there because I published the book, and a lady in Angel Fire was at a spa and found the book somebody was reading, and she grabbed it and said, "Oh my gosh, where did you get this book? This book is so holy. I need to have this book." And she said, "Well, I bought it from Cindy Bentley." And she said, "Well, where is she?" She says, "She's in Santa Fe." So she got the book on Amazon, and then she called me and said, "I'm your sister. I'm Syrian light worker, and we're supposed to work together in the world." And I said, "Okay." She said, "I'll meet you at the Buffalo Thunder. We'll spend the night, and you can clear me. Tell me what you do, and then we'll make a plan." So I traveled doing sacred site journeys around the world with her for 5 years while living in Santa Fe. I went twice. I did all of the UK, 3 weeks at a time. We did southern France, healing the energies from the murder of the Cathars, healing the energy at the War of the Roses area, working through wonderful, pristine energies of Ireland. We went to Machu Picchu. I stayed in Bolivia for a while. I got kicked out of a place because we pulled in too many. We ended up doing warfare with darkness, And
Oh,
it
shit.
was. And where else did we go?
What
I
is
went
her name?
Bimini. Her name. Her name. She was doing sacred journeys. I think she still does some. Her name was Julie Wiley.
Her name was Julie. That's
Mhm.
interesting.
Oh yeah, I have a sister named Julie. My ex-husband married Julie. My next door neighbor is Julie. Julie goes on and on and on in my life.
You've got a Julie lineage.
I've got a Julie Lynn. If your name's Julie, I pay attention when they say my name's Julie, and I'm like, oh, it is. Let me see. And then I forget. We traveled so many places, Germany. But anyway, so I did that, and I just got burnt out because I did about 9 countries in 16 months or something, or 8, I did a lot at one time. I was like,
Yeah.
and I just needed to come together. But now I go to England 3 or 4 times a year because my oldest daughter and her family live there. She married a British guy.
Yeah, you have to go visit those grandbabies and your kids.
I have to, I've been doing that and
Yeah.
not getting to Glastonbury, and I've been to Stonehenge 3 times. I mean, I've been very fortunate to just I've been to the chapel in Scotland, Roseland's Chapel, that they wrote about in the book. What was the guy that wrote that book about? I'll think of it later, Julie, but it's all about the hidden secrets and the temporal nights and all that. What was the
Oh,
name?
yeah. It's I don't know, but I know who you're talking about. It's funny because I was just going to mention Merlin.
Yes.
So my
I went. I had an experience with Merlin in his cave.
well, get a load of this.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, we should save these stories for next time, but just real briefly, I want to tell you. So My father left his physical body the day before my birthday, which is August 13th, 2020. Well, August 13th, last summer, right here out in the backyard, Merlin came to visit me.
Wow.
And he gave me a healing on my womb.
Wow.
And then you know who Stephen Noble is?
No.
He is so great. He does all these, he was led by Spirit too to start doing his work, and he's from the UK. And so he does all these guided meditations on his YouTube channel. They're fabulous. They really opened me up. But anyway, so after I had my Merlin experience, one night, I wanted to put myself to sleep with Stephen Noble's uh, um, guided meditation on Merlin, right? So always in his videos, he has a description, right?
Mhm.
And he talks about how he went to Glastonbury and Merlin appeared and Merlin put his hands on his shoulders. Okay, so when Merlin appeared to me, he was sitting in a chair, but then he got out of his chair and he put his hands on my shoulders. And I'm
Wow.
like, what are the odds, right? That I would have this visit with Merlin and then I would be, reading this thing by Stephen, how he's talking. So obviously, Merlin, one of the things he does, I guess, is put his hands on your shoulders because that happened to both of us. So anyway, yeah,
And he put his
Merlin
hand.
and I are in contact, baby. He told me 3 years ago, he said, I've got my eye on you and you would make a good student, but I'm going to keep watching you and I'll be back.
Wow.
But anyway, I want to hear, well,
I have to tell this story. I'm busting, but I was in Avalon, and they have the Camelot Castle is a hotel now, but you got to be careful because it's ran by Scientology.
oh,
Yeah, and so, but right below sits on the water. There's a cave, and when the tide is out, the cave is open, and it's called Merlin's Cave. So I went in, but I only got halfway through when he put his hands on my shoulders and set me down, and I had to sit down, and I said, I'm getting chills telling you this, and I said, "Oh Merlin, teach me the way you taught King Arthur. Let me learn." And he took his finger and he put it right in my eye. And all he said to me is, "You are the wizard. You are the wizard." Yeah. So I talk to people and I'll do that and I'll say, "Remember, you, Julie, you're the wizard. You are the wizard." Yeah. And that's what we can learn all we want to learn, but if we don't know that we are, we're no good. We
yeah,
are. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the guides come and they spur us on and they remind us of they are and they give us healings when we needed them. I really needed something for my womb.
Yes.
But you hadn't even told your story yet. And I told my story and I told you how he put his hand on my shoulders. And then I told you how the same thing happened to Stephen Noble. And then when you told your story, you say he put his hands on my shoulders.
Like pushed me down. I had to sit. I couldn't go any further. And I was like, okay, he's here. What do I do now?
Speaking of well-known awakened beings and caves, the other day on June 28th, I was divinely guided to announce my services as an intuitive guide, and I did so by writing a blog because I have a blog website. So I included, it wasn't the whole blog wasn't about that, but I did include that in there.
Mhm.
And I like gematria and numbers, so I was like,
I
oh,
did, yeah, I've got lots of that. Yes.
I was like, well, I wonder why Spirit chose 628. That's really interesting. And
It's a frequency.
well, guess what? So I write a blog Tuesday night, and then I'll schedule to have it published like the next morning because it's always on Wednesdays. And so I had finished writing it, but I hadn't pressed the go button yet, so I could still edit it. Well, later that night, like in the wee hours of the morning, like 2 a.m., so it's like 2 a.m. on Wednesday, right? I find out that it was Padmasambhava's birthday. And
Wow.
Padmasambhava for me is huge because I have a lot of Tibetan energy and
Mhm.
there are Tibetan dimensions that I'm in and I've had Tibetan past lives and blah 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 blah. So if people don't know who Padmasambhava is or was,
Mhm.
he's called the one born in the lotus or the lotus
Mhm.
born one, and he helped to bring Buddhism from India to Tibet. Well,
Mhm.
many, many years ago, when I went to Nepal, I went to Padmasambhava's cave, one of the caves where
Wow.
he meditated. And the minute I stepped foot in there, I started bawling like a little
Yeah.
baby. And so I was like, okay, I mean, I have truth bumps right now. I was like, you know, this is divinely guided to offer my services on Padmasambhava's birthday, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love confirmations like that. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. It builds faith and
Yeah.
trust, you know?
And like I don't fear. I have no fear of anything. And people are like, "Oh, you're a single woman." I drove across country at 59 years old, didn't even have a place to live, knowing, trusting God. And when I got to somewhere, I was it passed. I think I was in Amarillo. I heard a message say at 3:30, call this person who was a giant healer who lived in South Africa that I had been working with, and they said call him. And I called him, and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I was in Arkansas dowsing, and I'm supposed to live in Fort Sumner, New Mexico." And he said, "Why do you need to go there? There's nothing there." I said, "I don't know, but I'm supposed to live there." And he said, "Well, where are you going to live?" I said, I guess I'll have to get a hotel or something. That's where I'm supposed to go." And he says, "Well, I have family there, and I've got a couple of homes there. Do you want to live in my house?" I said, "Sure." So I drove on, and he said, "And the other thing," I said, "I thought you were in South Africa." And he said, "I was. I just landed in DC and turned my phone on. It rang, and it was you." Yeah. So, yeah. So I live there. He does sacred geometry. That's what made me think of it. He's
Mm.
with sacred geometry. He's you can look up Ken West, Dr. Ken West. There's so much information. He's done so much.
Okay.
But that's another whole story in itself. But
Yeah. We're gonna be on here again, I already know.
yeah,
We got to.
yeah. I got stories forever and ever. But the more I don't fear that I don't have enough money. I don't fear that I don't have a place to live. I bought this house online because I left everything when I left in Atlanta before. But in Santa Fe, I bought my first house. I didn't have much money, but they told me how much to spend and that I would get it. And sure, the guy that was helping me said, "There's no house at that price in Santa Fe." I said, "Well, it's supposed to be one." The day he went to pick me up to take me to show me homes, he said, "I went by the office and this house became available, the exact price you want." And I had already told him I got to have 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, 2-car garage. I want a big yard. I need a fireplace.
It was beautiful. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
there.
But you went to my second house. I had 2
Well,
homes that I paid for in there. Yeah. So the first house I bought, I fixed it up and sold it, made enough money, went to Rancho Viejo after 3 years, bought another house, bought it for 241. I had to write a little letter to him about it. 241,000. Sold it 6 years later for 440,000. So I paid cash for this house here. And I had no house before that. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, yeah.
so do I want to limit myself by saying go into my head about anything? No. The way I release the magic is I say anything can happen. I believe in magic because God is so powerful that as long as I stay believing in that power, it will come true.
Because you are the wizard.
Because I'm the wizard. Yeah. And the same thing with that house. He found the house for me and I moved into it. It was a good house too. You didn't know. It was on the end of Aquafria. And it was a great location, but it was a very small little subdivision and it worked out great. And I had to have hip surgery, a total hip. And on the other side of my fence was a concrete walking trail that was fully fenced in and safe. And I could walk that trail with one crutch and get my exercise because it was real smooth.
Cool.
I mean, I could go on and on.
I
The
know.
miracles. It's just another miracle, another miracle. I'm
Well,
in the midst of another miracle right now, but I'm not free to talk about it yet.
okay. Well, on the next show, on the next
Maybe on the next
time
show,
you can tell us.
about it.
I don't know if I've told you this, but currently I'm a live-in caretaker. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go check on him. But
Okay.
I'm going to end the live stream after we say goodbye to everybody. But don't it'll only the live stream will only no longer be available to them. You and I'll still be able to see each other. So don't leave, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Cindy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
And I hope that all the information that you've shared and the stories that we've shared inspire people.
Mhm.
Yes. And that people might find you on your website or maybe look into the one of the books that we put up. And basically, yeah, we do this for the benefit of others and because we like to have fun.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here.
This is heaven to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, whether you watched this live or you watched the replay. And thank you, Daniel, for being on here. He's also been a guest on the show. And thank you, Angie, for watching. And we'll get you in touch with Cindy. And everybody else, have a beautiful day and a beautiful life.
And a happy 4th of July.
And a happy 4th of July.
Because our country's going to change. It's changing.
Yeah. And just remember, it's not really about independence. It's about interdependence.
That's right.